Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at property address 2827 Northeast Fremont Street here in Portland, located at the front of the house. We're very near the front doorway, and I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front of the home. So as you face the house, this is just to the, to the right of the staircase here, and about 2 feet off the patio, you've got a 4-inch ABS cleanout. Lines right up with the kitchen window. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. Clean some cobwebs off the camera. I cannot tell you how excited I am. Let's see what gets a sewer scope guy excited here. Pretty boring. It's a two-way clean out on the exterior of a basement house like this is a very rare thing to have. They're almost always directional and force you toward the road and usually don't let you go backwards. That's a really nice feature if you ever have to do any drain cleaning or anything like that on the main line. You can often accomplish that without having to drag equipment into the house. So right out of the gate, that is a superbly clean flow line. Spotless. That's how you want your line to look right there. The main thing that keeps a line this clean, and it makes a great deal of difference to functionality too, is not putting grease, fats, and oils down your line. They build up. We're going to come back and take a second look at this joint here in just a minute. That one's looking a little suspect there. What it kind of has the appearance of is a joint that may have had a root go through it. This one here too, similar kind of appearance. You've got some gapping there between the pipe joints. Making a transition there to 3034 PVC pipe, also appears to be 4-inch. Now as far as flow goes, flow is good, but we've got two joints there that are a little bit concerning. And what I'm going to do here, just to kill two birds with one stone, I'm going to pull back to that transition joint and locate just to see where it's at. Those transitions generally take place at either the right-of-way and or the street curb, the face of the curb. Face of the curb is a little more ideal spot there because that's not in every case, but in a lot of cases it does fall into city responsibility. It's the dividing line anyway. So this will verify the street we're going out to here and let us figure out where this is at. Alrighty, so where my camera is currently parked right now, and it's one of those I'm going to recommend be relocated, mostly from this couple standpoints here. I've got a lot of overhead power lines. It's also a deep line, especially in that scenario. Sometimes that can affect the locate signal. But I am picking this locate. I parked the camera right here to try and get the antenna on the camera as dead center on that joint as possible. I'm picking the locate up beyond the curb into the road by about a foot or so. I did put a small marking down there. I have not put a depth. That's partially just a reference point for it to be double checked. The other reason why I'm a little concerned I might be getting some interference and the locate could be off by a little bit is that there is a green plastic curb marker at the street, which generally sit directly over top of where the line is at. So you can see where the line crosses the curb. That curb stamp is situated about 2 feet to the left, that's as you face the house, of where my locate, or at least my locate shows the line crossing the curb. So between those two things, it's possible I've got some interference that's throwing the locate off a little bit. But right now, where I just parked that camera, I picked that signal up beyond the curb. Yeah, this is a video. I've got a lot of sun right now where I'm at right at this juncture. I'm trying to get a good look at fine detail here. Some of these joints almost look like they could be somewhat exposed to the ground. It's really hard to say. That almost looks like some dirt there at the joint. And not that brown substances don't go down sewer lines, it's that the coloration of that, at least in my opinion, is a little more indicative of dirt. From a flow standpoint, it's not doing anything to affect functionality. But when I get lines that are really, really clean and I start seeing joints like that, I start to wonder if the line is being maintained periodically to cut roots back. It's really hard to say. I've done over 25,000 scopes, and there's just a particular way a joint displays itself, and some of these at least show some potential signs that they could be exposed to the ground. But from a flow standpoint, functionality that way is not being affected. And I will also locate this joint here too, just to see where it's situated. And I'm going to review the video in better lighting where I can see a lot easier fine detail. I can see very big obvious stuff right now. But you've got some little nubbins sticking off that joint there. I want to try and take a closer look at to see if I can discern whether or not those might be small root hairs coming through there or what have you. But off to the side there, that looks a little bit like dirt and kind of a moisture stain. Sometimes you'll get that when groundwater seeps through and you get dirt. You just get a different appearance. And there's not really a good reason for debris to be hanging up here other than stuff maybe getting stuck in the gapping between the joints. So anyway, right now neither joint. I mean, you've got a slip and to an extent an offset out there at the transition joint. With the configuration this line has, it's diving like no tomorrow. Stuff rips through here like a rocket. So that kind of joint is not going to be affecting functionality, not unless it progresses or, you know, there were roots there at one point that have been cut back. But where I'm locating this spot there at the curb, there's not a tree, let's see, immediately over the top of it, but there is one about 10 feet to the side of it. So they're all possibilities. Right now they're harder to confirm, so watch for the report. These are ones I may, you know, especially when there's just not a lot to go off of there. What I like to see are secondary signs that a joint is open, things like earthworms crawling around the line, other stuff that makes it obvious that there has to be an exposed spot in the line that's open to the ground. Right now, I give it the possibility of it, but if I don't have enough to go off of, it's hard to go recommending a repair on it. All right, so this spot here, the other reason this joint out here is one that I would recommend double checking. It dives off a fair amount. Once I get to this spot here, my locate is having I think it's having a hard time picking up or differentiating between the camera and maybe power line interference. There, my locator's jumping around to some really deep depths. I'm just pushing back out here to get the exact foot mark here. It's about, we'll call it 30 feet. We're close enough. Very close to it. And this spot here, find that joint again. I'm locating under the sidewalk area, and I get a much shallower depth here of about 4 feet deep. The line is grading pretty hard. It might be quite deep by the time you get to the curb there. Anyway, both those joints have the possibility of being exposed to the ground. Right now, it's really hard to say with certainty. And joints can slip. I mean, depending on how they're put together, sometimes pipe ends don't get butted up against each other, but the joint is still secure and closed off and doesn't affect anything. So just because the joint is a little bit gapped does not always mean it's open to the ground. So that's what I'm going to take a second look at. All right, we're now going back toward the home. Anyway, right now, from just a pure flow standpoint, none of the stuff I'm talking about there is having an effect on flow. It's still possible that the line could be exposed there to the ground to some extent, but so right here, what you have is likely we're just 7 feet going back toward the home here. We're very close to the front foundation wall, which is going to be right around the area where a kitchen sink drops down into the sewer line. Right now, my camera is upside down, so what's at the bottom of the screen is the top of the pipe. It has the same kind of gunk too that you would expect to see around a kitchen sink, but there is some scale buildup there in the flow line. That little bit of a dam there has the potential to cause problems. Although on the back side of it here, not seeing a lot in the way of buildup. This section of the pipe is also very, very clean. A little bit of that cast iron got left in place there. This right here looks like the vertical vent stack. Yeah, that's the vent stack there. So So that's the end of the line going backwards. That's where the line goes vertical to head upstairs. We've got a level of standing water in the line here. I'm going to pull back though and see. It might be entirely related to that chunk of scale buildup in the line though, causing the water to stand behind it. I don't think it's so much of a gradation issue as it is you've got a little bit of a dam created by that spot there. So, and you can do things like descaling, which can grind stuff like that down, but that appears to just be scale buildup there, which is extra common around kitchen sink drain connections. It's another spot I'm going to take a close look at there. I mean, the pipe in that location looks like it's showing a bit of roughness and deterioration, and kitchen sinks will often cause cast iron to wear out quicker than the other parts of the line because of the debris that they carry. That's carrying all the grease, acids, everything else under the sun, which tends to beat up cast iron a little more than other sections that aren't handling that same debris. And that's a spot there. I just did a locate just to see where it's at. My locate takes me right up to the foundation wall of the home. So that looks like it's going to be just inside the foundation wall of the basement. If a company were able to come out there and descale that and grind that down, it would certainly smooth that spot out there so it's less likely to catch debris. Now, based on the cleanliness of the line, assuming it hasn't been cleaned, I'm not seeing a lot in the way of buildup on the back side of it. And that's where you generally are going to get all your evidence of whether or not an area has been causing recurring problems. Anytime a line backs up, it goes back behind the issue. And anyway, we're going in reverse in this scenario. So we shoot right back under that window there where the kitchen sink is at. Essentially, right when you get to that foundation wall is where that rougher spot in the cast iron is. Right now, everything looks intact there, although it is showing a level of deterioration. But again, I'm going to take a closer look at home here. I've got some really rough lighting conditions to deal with out here on the screen that make it really difficult to see fine detail. So, anyway, by and large, if you were to subtract that chunk of scale buildup from the flow line there, the line looks like it has proper slope and grade, but that does appear to be the reason why there's some standing water there. And in the world of standing water, it's not an ultra significant amount. You can get a coupling effect though sometimes where the standing water can sometimes slow velocity down of the debris, and then there's a little bit of a wall there to try and get over the top of. Based on how clean the line is, it looks like by and large everything's getting over the top of it without too much issue. But you also have to take into account sometimes too the size of the household. If it's one person right now putting hardly anything down the line versus a big family, sometimes you'll see some differences there. So watch for the report. I may recommend some stuff on there it's just hard to discern right now with the lighting conditions I've got. Other than that, the other areas we scoped here in the line, apart from the two joints there where that kitchen sink drops in, everything else here is looking up to snuff, in good shape, clean, and has good flow. And overall, the line has adequate flow. It's even with that lump in the flow line there, things still are functioning. But it's a spot there that puts the line at higher risk for blocking, especially under more abusive scenarios where lots of balled up toilet paper goes down line, wipes, things like that.